All right, so this is the fourth week I've been here. Been here for almost a month in 4 days, 5 days. So this is my recap of the 1st through the 7th of November. Yesterday was my birthday, so that was fun. It was fairly uneventful, but exciting nonetheless. I talked to some family, and then I went on a nice walk in the morning on the Via Verde, and then I went to Maddie's that afternoon, and we all made a cake together, Maddie, Essie, and I. And they were like, "Oh, like you're making a birthday cake," and I was like, "No, no, no! Like I love doing this. Like this is entirely fun. I'm just excited that I get to actually make a cake and bake a little bit because I don't have an oven, so I don't have that option very often." Um, and then we went and got drinks and tapas last night. And just hung out for a little bit. We couldn't stay out too late because the curfew is still in place until 11 p.m. or it starts at 11 p.m. So everything closes by 10:30. It was funny though. We went to a bar and got a drink at like 10, and they hadn't finished there. They got like a gin and tonic or something, and the bartender was like, "Hey, we're closing. Like, you need to, we're closing our doors. You need to leave." We're like, "Okay," and they're like, start like drinking the drinks. They're like, "No, no, no, wait. Like, we have plastic cups. You can take them with you." And I was like, we were all like, "This is very strange. Like, this is not something that's allowed in the U.S. Like, you can't just take your drink with you when you go home. Like, you have to be done and just give up." And like, "Yeah, well, I'm not finishing it." They're like, "Oh, here's a drink carrier, like a plastic cup. You can just take it with you." So that was a very strange difference compared to the U.S. It was funny. Not much else has happened this week, actually. I went back to school, which was really nice. I finally have met all of the kids that I'm teaching this year. So that's exciting. All of them say hi to me in the hallways now and, wave to me if I see them at all, which is really nice. I've had some challenges with it as far as I'm teaching small groups because of COVID. So I'm only working with groups of, 4 to 5 students, and then I have to rotate through all the students in that class period. So that's been a little bit difficult, like just making sure I'm constantly aware of the time of, okay, and I only have 10 to 15 minutes with each of these groups. So I can't really get too into anything because if I do, we run over and then the next group doesn't get very much time. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge, but also it's been kind of nice because I don't have to do a bunch of like really strenuous planning. There's a lot of just like, all right, well, what can we do for 15 minutes? Like get, packed punch. And it has all of that information that they need in those 15 minutes. And like the last week, a couple weeks ago when I first started, it was really easy because I was just introducing myself. So I was like, all right, here's my presentation about me, and then do you have any questions about me? And then I would ask them questions about, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? That sort of thing. But we're actually starting to get into like the topics that they're learning in class. Well, I'm excited for this next week because I think I'll be able to come up with more things and activities that they can do as opposed to me just showing them a slideshow on my computer and hoping that they are paying attention. But something that gets a little bit more interactive. And I've also had some issues with, like, there's some groups that all of the kids want to talk to me. They want to use English. They're all excited. They're like talking over each other, and I have to shush each of them. So I'm like, everyone needs to talk. Like, chill out for a second. And then there's other groups that there's like one kid who definitely knows a lot more English. And so all of the other kids are asking that person, how do I say, and, how do I say this? What did she say? What is happening? And they're, not actively using their own minds as much. But at least they're still, I'm like, okay, well, you have to say it in English. Like, you need to say it. But then there's other groups that I feel like I'm just talking to a wall. Like, I can't get any of them to talk to me. They only know some things, and I'm sure it's partially shyness, partially, just not having confidence in their English speaking abilities. But there's just a few times that I'm like, oh my goodness, like please just say something because I can't keep talking to myself this whole time. But we'll get there. We'll see. And I'm hoping some interactive activities will help with that. And now that they're starting to know me a little bit more, but we'll see. Yeah, it's kind of about it that's happened. Christmas is apparently here in Lucena. I have been putting up Christmas decorations, like lights over the roads, and then in the El Centro, there's lights up over the top. They're not lit up yet, but they're up, and they've been putting those up since I got here in mid-October. But they have been, yesterday they started putting up a Christmas tree, in like a light up Christmas tree, kind of like the ones they have in malls, in the plaza right outside down the road from me. So it's kind of funny, but I was like, well, I mean, that happens in the States too, I suppose. And there's no other holiday. It's Halloween and then Christmas here. There's no Thanksgiving to break it up at all. So, yeah, I think it'll be really pretty here once everything's lit up and everything's on. It'll be really nice and very Christmas feeling, which will be good because I'm not gonna really decorate this year. There's no point in trying to find a tree or anything. Like, what am I gonna do with all that stuff in June when I leave? Like, that's not worth it. So it'll be a little bit different. Same thing with Halloween decorations. I didn't decorate this year, and we'll see. Maddie and Yessie and I have talked about doing a Friendsgiving on Thanksgiving this year. So I think we're going to do that at Maddie's house because she has a bunch of space. She has 2 outdoor patios and a very large living room. And she also has her roommate, Ella, who's from the Philippines. So she might join us for that. I don't know. We talked about inviting that group that I went to that potluck with a couple weeks ago. But I'm a little bit hesitant to do that just because I don't want to have to quarantine again. And the more people we add, the higher that likelihood is of, getting COVID or being exposed to COVID or having any risk of COVID at all. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know if any of us are entirely sure what we want to do with that yet, but kind of play it by ear for now. We still got a few weeks. I don't think I'm going to be able to find a turkey. I've already volunteered to cook. But they do have whole chickens, so we might be having chicken Thanksgiving, but that's okay. It'll be nice just to spend that holiday with everyone else. So, yeah, I did a little house tour today. I spent the day cleaning, because I hadn't really done that since I got out of my quarantine. Because I was like, oh, I can go outside, I can go do things. But I did explode a little bit in the apartment. So there's a little bit of a house tour, so everyone knows what I'm talking about, and I can remember this in years to come. Remember what else happened this week that was important. So I had to pay rent by the 5th. Within the first 5 days of the month is when I have to pay rent. So I was starting to stress out because I wasn't able to get into my bank account to do a wire transfer because my landlord lives in France. So I'm like trying to get in. I'm calling customer service. I can't actually get through to customer service because they give you like a huge menu option that you like choose the number on. And of course it's all in Spanish. And I'm like, I think that I go through the right thing. And then it gives me like 6 menu options. And then it gets to at some point, do you want to open or close an account? And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to get into my account. So I just gave up and I emailed them instead because that was an option. And I was like, all right, at this point, like I'm not the in person or the on the phone customer service, not working for me. So I emailed them. They finally get back to me and they're like, yeah, you have to go in person to do that. And I was like, cool. Okay, great. So I go in and I got there at 8:30 in the morning when the bank opened. And they were like, yeah, there was probably 15 people in line already. And I was like, all right, well, hopefully this goes fast because I have to be work at 10, but it's a 20-minute walk, so I need to be leaving by like 9:35 or so. And I didn't make it through the line that day. I texted my landlord and I was like, hey, sorry, I'm having a hard time I'm having troubles with my bank account. I can't get into it right now, but I tried going to the bank this morning. Didn't work. He was like, no worries, like take your time. Thank you for letting me know. So that was good. I'm glad he was super understanding about it. So I go back to the bank again the next morning. This is the morning of the 4th. I got there 10 minutes before they opened, and I was like 5th in line or something. So I stood in line for 50 minutes almost, 40 minutes, and I finally make it in. I talked to somebody there, and I was like, I think my number's in here incorrectly because I'm not getting this code that I'm supposed to be receiving to log into my online account. Because you have to get, they send you a code, and you type that in, and it verifies your identity. And I was like, I'm not receiving that code. And he's like, oh yeah, it looks like your number's in here incorrectly. Let me fix that. I was like, great, wonderful. So I had a few minutes before I had to leave for work. After I was done there, I waited like 45, 50 minutes for a 3-minute interaction. So that was, lovely to wake up and do early in the morning, but it's okay. And the guy who helped me was talking in English, and I was like, please let me practice my Spanish. I just want to practice my Spanish. But whatever. I got it fixed. I thought. I was trying all day. I still couldn't log in. I still wasn't receiving this code. I was like, well, maybe the system just hasn't updated. I still couldn't get it to work, though. So the next morning, I was like, all right, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to ATM super early because there is an option to do wire transfers through the ATM. But I tried it the night of the 4th, but there was a technical difficulty, of course. Why wouldn't there be at this point? And I was like, all right, I'm going to go super early in the morning and try it before everyone's there. It still didn't work, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in person when they open. So I get there when they open, again, a little bit before, and there's one person waiting. So I'm thinking it was payday the last couple days, and like everyone also has to pay rent, which is why there was a crazy line. But I was like, there was 2 people working, and I was the second person in line, so I got in immediately when they opened. And I was talking to the woman, and I was able to do all of the Spanish. I communicated what I was trying to say, and she understood me, and I understood her, and I only messed up some words. She asked me, she was like, ¿importa? And I was like, rent, it's for rent, alquilar. And she was like, and then she Google translated it, and she's like, amount. And I was like, I thought that was like the importance, like, the context of it. No, that's contexto is what the next one was. So that was the only confusing part we had. But other than that, I was able to like actually communicate what I was trying to say. So I felt like so good. And then I was finally able to get into my bank account. I was able to make my transfer. I paid my rent. But it was a super exciting moment because I actually was able to use my Spanish. And there's also other times that I'm like, I don't even know what just happened in that conversation. Like, I have zero idea. And I'm just confused now. So it comes and goes. It depends on who's talking to me and how fast they're talking and what about they're talking and what my part of the conversation is. But I feel like I'm starting to pick some things up. So here's Lucena, just walking over the freeway. I'm on the Via Verde. I went the other direction today. So just a nice little stroll this morning. It's 12:45 this afternoon. It's kind of nice. It's warm still. It feels like it might start raining now with the wind. We'll see. You put one egg and then mix it, okay? Yep, and then gosh, look what I just found. Little babies. They're so cute. Oh my goodness.